Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Holistic Health Podcast. Before we dive in, actually, we legitimately need to catch up on a couple of things. So if you're bored by our banter and you don't have space for our actual friend catch up, please just skip ahead to the dog stuff. But yeah, I was just saying to Amie offline, I invested in some new clothing, which is big for me because I'm such an outfit repeater. And what's hard is, though, I really like winter fashion, as in like winter clothes. I feel like they're easier to pick for me. But we only have such a short period of time where we can actually take advantage of that here.
Oh, it's my one complaint. It's very hard to feel stylish when you can't layer. And I love being rugged up and cozy. And I follow a few stylists online and a couple of them are in Melbourne, and I'm like, I love this, but also I could never. Like, I'm sweating just looking at you.
Yeah.
And it is really hard to find things that feel stylish, chic, and comfortable that are climate suitable. So I'm so here for this cooler weather.
Yeah. Although I realise I have my colour palette is basically all earth, like earth. But even my life, it's so funny. My home is very earthy.
It's on brand.
But I like the way being surrounded by earth colours makes me feel.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Very grounding, very in harmony with nature, and it works with your palette.
My palette
as well.
My palette, how good. Well, in other news, we thought we'd do this episode around like what we do for our pets. Now, we absolutely want to preface this with, we are not vets. We have not consulted vets in the process of doing this podcast. This is absolutely not medical advice or even naturopathic recommendations for your specific animal. But I also know that it is something we get asked from time to time, and so we thought we'd just share our own personal experience of some of the naturopathic or natural dog mum, cat mum tools that we've made use of in our own experience. And if they help you or you want to discuss them with your vet, then by all means go for it. So I feel like, first of all, I've probably only got one example in terms of my current dogs, who I've had. Chino is his name, short for, the reason why we named him Chino was because me and my husband, Bo, love coffee, and he looks like he's dipped his face in a little cappuccino. So we call him Chino.
I didn't know that story.
Yeah.
That's
And we
so
decided
cute.
on it when we were drinking cappuccinos in Queenstown in New Zealand, which is another place that I just love on this earth. So feels like it was just the perfect name. And it was actually my friend's daughter, who's 8, who actually chose Chino out of a few photos we had. And she is in New Zealand, like that's who we were going to visit. So that's the whole background story there, in case anyone wanted to waste 1 minute of their life knowing that. Anyway, so I have he's my example of what I'm going to use of what I've done, because I've had other family dogs, but I really haven't done much with them. So for Chino, to start with, some of the basic things that I do is I've fed him a few different versions of a diet. So when we first got him and he was younger, we fed him like a raw food diet, as in like, meat, vegetables, organ meats, fruit, nuts, seeds, etc. As in it was a pre-made thing that we did. I think we used Big Dog, which was one of the brands. And initially he tolerated that really well, had the best poos ever. But at some point he started to actually get some gut issues. And his gut issues have been an ongoing battle for me. And yeah, it's kind of, we've done some gut testing on him. I tried a few different things myself at home and it just wasn't resolving. So he now, what has helped is we've switched him to more of a cooked food diet. So we've used Leica, but couldn't continue it just from an expense perspective. And now we use one called Wolfit, which is similar to, it comes raw, but we cook it because it's easier to digest for his sensitive tummy. And then we top him up with like some sardines and kangaroo jerky and things like that. In terms of what's really helped him outside of that, I would say I've also like given him some extra bone broth. I've given him probiotics and prebiotics, and also have given him, there's a really great brand called Canine Ceuticals, and I believe it's a naturopath and a vet, or maybe the naturopath has consulted with a vet. I don't remember exactly, but they have a really great range, and there's a few different gut healing powders that I've been using from their range that have been really helpful. And they actually are very similar to what we'd use in a human who we're trying to like soothe their digestive lining. So things like slippery elm, marshmallow, chamomile, licorice, lactoferrin I've actually used a fair bit, and pre and probiotics. And I found that is honestly, it's turned his digestion around so much. And I really appreciate the simplicity of having had a brand that I could just kind of go, yep. Because I could do it with our human brands because it's essentially the same thing. It's just a changed dose and amount that's appropriate for more commonly the size of animals than the size of humans. But I've just found that so much easier to deal with.
Just effortless, isn't it? It's one like less mental load, less labour.
Exactly.
Yes.
So what about you? What have you, and I know you've had a cat and have a dog.
Yes.
And so tell us, what have you found helpful? Because you've had those two for a lot longer than I have had Chino.
I might start with Lily, my spoodle, just following on the dog train. And had a similar journey with Lily actually. So first of all, when we got her as a puppy, we tried her on a whole food diet, an ancestral diet. So we have consulted a holistic vet and also a naturopathic vet. I might leave the links for those two in the show notes below, along with a couple of other natural vet clinics that I know of that I've purchased things from before. However, just like with human children, they inherit their microbiome from their mother. And she was born to a dog who just lived on kibble. So even though as a naturopath and nutritionist, I wanted to feed her an ancestral diet for her longevity and health, her gut she just didn't inherit the microflora to do that and the constitution to do that. And that was a bit heartbreaking, to be honest. So a little bit like you, it's been experimental. We had a very similar journey with her gut repair using lactoferrin, Saccharomyces, probiotics, bone broth, slippery elm. We found psyllium husk works quite well for her, and that's because she's a vegetable dodger. And so she would just eat meat if she could, and organ meats too. So we ended up landing on a combination of, like, each week my now ex-husband would cook up in the slow cooker like puppy mince, which has got carcass frames in it, so cartilage, bones, minerals.
It would have smelt delightful in the house.
Yeah, not ideal when I was working from home. But that with vegetables and sometimes rice, and that would form the basis of her cooked dog food. And then we found dog biscuits available from some Woolworths actually called Raw 33, and they're a grain-free biscuit that also has like freeze-dried organ meats in it, and the biscuits like made from real food as well. And just a combination of that, and then she just likes tidbits of whatever we're eating, sort of got her there in the end. But it's definitely was a point of weakness for her too, which was unfortunate. We were also lucky with getting her as a puppy. We had her puppy vaccines weight adjusted, and we did titre testing as well, so that she wasn't being over vaccinated, which is a really common problem in veterinary medicine. sticking with the whole foods theme, like we would use single protein diet treats. So air dried kangaroo, or organ meats, liver is also just an easy one. But I also really love the Vetologica brand, and they are like a herbal medicine treat for animals. And there was a specific one I used for Simba, my cat, which I'll talk about in a minute. But for her, she's a spoodle. We refer to her as a furry cannonball because she just like roars through life with absolutely no like idea of how easily she could injure herself with how violent she is with her body. And I suspect she's got like a little bit of hip dysplasia. There just seems to be some sort of constitutional weakness there. So I give her the glucosamine chondroitin and MSM joint treats by Vetologica. They're amazing. And of course, chondroitin and MSM is also good for gut health as well. MSM is a natural anti-inflammatory. So that's been really great. And then when we did have her desexed around the age of 2, we used homeopathics. Brow-Atromial was a really good one for recovery from surgery and red light on her belly. And side note, we got her these little onesies from Kmart to wear post-surgery so she didn't have to walk around with the cone of shame, because she was actually injuring herself. Like she would jump up on the bed and like hit the bed and like fall over, and then she would bang into stuff. It was just a disaster. I understand like a pool noodle or like a hemorrhoid donut cushion is also quite helpful. But anyway, we got her these little like 2-year-old onesies and like cut a hole for her tail, and gosh, it was adorable. It was so adorable. And then the last thing that I have used for her is when she came down with kennel cough. I've mentioned this before. Now, ordinarily, if I was treating something, I would consult a naturopathic vet or a holistic vet, because pathophysiology and pharmacology can be different across different species, or is different. But in this case, she was vaccinated, but of course vaccines don't necessarily stop you from getting sick. She picked it up at the vet from when she got desexed, which was really unfortunate. And she came down with it at like 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and we're like 45 minutes drive from a 24-hour vet. And I knew what it was, and I had cherry bark tincture at home. It's an amazing herbal medicine for coughing. It's like a antispasmodic, like a cough suppressant. Now, you don't always want to use a cough suppressant if someone's trying to bring mucus up, but in the case of kennel cough, it's viral, and it's just this like awful irritation of the lungs. And so I would actually warm it up a little bit, melt some manuka honey into it, and I would syringe it into her. And essentially it was like working for about 15, 20 minutes. And so I stayed up all night kind of syringing it. Just the time frame between her needing another dose extended out, and honestly by mid-morning she was over it.
Wow.
So we never had to take her to the vet.
You know what's so funny? Not funny. After that with Lily, I don't know how long after it was, when I got really sick, and then you came over and saw me and you gave me the cherry bark
syringed it into your mouth.
I mean, I'm Devo that you didn't syringe it, you just made me shot it, but now I know what to request next time.
Yeah. Mix it up with some manuka honey. Poor little puppy.
Good. I know. And I can confirm it worked for me too. I mean, I didn't have kennel cough, but certainly had a fucking irritating cough.
Yeah.
Remember how I was so sick? I was
awful.
crying because I was so, like, I felt so unwell. I'm not a good unwell person. I get really emotional. Because I hate being sick.
And you were really unwell. And I also remember thinking at the time it hadn't been that long ago that your mum had been through that horrific respiratory thing where she couldn't breathe. And I think you were also really traumatized from like witnessing that experience, seeing what she went through, feeling helpless. And I think it was just a combination of
oh my gosh, yeah, that was awful. So my mum had RSV, and she is a non-smoker now, but she has a long history of smoking, and so has a bit of emphysema there. And this was also after she'd been through breast cancer and a shit ton of chemo, and of course that really knocks you around. And she was, oh my gosh, like, I don't know if anyone's been around someone who like looks like they cannot get enough oxygen, but it is awful, like awful. And she went to hospital a couple of times in that process. And because her oxygen sat was fine, they kept sending her home. And she was understandably absolutely terrified. And it's something so, and this is not the first time I've seen my mum really scared, because I was very, very, very close to her physically and emotionally through that whole breast cancer journey and chemo. And so like I've seen her at her absolute worst and with desperation in her eyes before. There's something so confronting when it's your mum, and I remember like you stayed up with Lily just every 60 to 90 minutes for, probably a good couple of weeks. She was having these coughing attacks, and then she'd have to, I would just sleep next to her and just be there, because it's terrifying. There's something about the nighttime as well when you're like that that's even worse. It's just so horrible. And there's something about, because breath, obviously oxygen, breathing is life. I've not experienced oxygen hunger for extended periods of time. Like I have felt it when I've been held underwater surfing, and like just it's terrible. Or I've had a few big wipeouts where I've swallowed a fair bit of water and then like been having coughing attacks. But I just can't imagine what that experience is like.
Yeah, it would be very scary. Yeah, it's scary witnessing it, but it would be so much scarier being in it.
Yeah. Anyway, I digress. Yeah. Back to you. Anything else on Lily, or are we going over to?
Might swap to Simba. And what we were just talking about actually reminds me of when I saw him have an asthma attack for the first time. He was 10, and so I adopted Simba from a girlfriend when I was 28, and I didn't have him on like a whole food diet at the time. I think I was just young, living my life, and not really, and I just literally was feeding him what my parents fed our family cats, cat biscuits, the wet food that you get from, he was pretty fussy, but I got him really good quality food, but also it was just standard commercial cat food as well. But I was in this apartment in Waterloo in Sydney. In hindsight, there had been a leak from the balcony into the bedroom where his bed was, and it was Aspergillus and Penicillium mold that had triggered him, which was the very same mold that triggered my asthma attack years later. But I absolutely panicked. It's such a, if you've never seen it, it's very weird. It looks like a kind of a cough sneeze, like a reverse sneeze, and they kind of get low to the ground and twist their head. I was like, do I call an exorcist? Like, what is happening here? But I could tell he was having trouble breathing, and I panicked, and I didn't know what I knew about mold at the time. I don't think the leak was evident then, but it revealed itself not that long after, and I sort of realised. But I freaked out, and James had said to me, don't stop panicking. Like, what would you do if it was a client? And I was like, oh, thank you. Wise words, like just snapped me into practitioner mode. And I just overhauled everything, including his diet. Now, this cat did a number on me. He was a ragdoll. One of his names was His Royal Highness, or HRH. And this dude had me hand cutting like beef fillet and prawns, tiger prawns. He only liked the large tiger prawns, by the way. If you dared try and serve him up those little shrimp, he would turn his little furry nose up at it. He was hilarious. So his diet improved at around the age of 10 because of that asthma attack. So he always had filtered water, particularly because cats are prone to kidney stuff. Dogs, it's more liver and gut. Cats, it's more kidney stuff. But for him, he was also quite a nervous disposition. He was a real paradox, actually. Reminds me of you a bit, actually. Like he, on one hand, I was like, you're so precious and so fragile, and like just, not that you're a nervous ninny, but he was like a nervous ninny. But then he also like would beat up dogs 5 times his size. Like he had the heart of a lion, and like you could really underestimate him.
That tracks.
Yeah. So he was very much like that. But because his nervous system was a bit sensitive, we moved a lot. We went through a lot together. The Vetologica brand has like an anti-anxiety treat with chamomile and 5-HTP and I think B vitamins for cats. Oh, so good. And if I knew I had to take him in the car to the vet, like I'd give him a couple of those half an hour before, and then he would be a lot more chilled out. It was so good. For dental health, I was using a powder. I can't remember the brand name. I will see if I can find it and link it, but it was a combination of minerals and kelp, or specifically ascophyllum nodosum, and that kind of scrubbed his teeth, which gave us more time in between dental cleans because they have to anesthetize pets. I think since then we've had vets come and do Lily's teeth at home while she's awake. It's not as deep a dental clean and scale, but it's a good kind of in between. But anyway, at the time I had him on that and a bit of colloidal silver in his water. And then the last thing that I gave him, like we did occasionally do other random things for him, but as he got older, and obviously with age comes wear and tear, I loved adding therakermin to his food. And basically therakermin is like a micronized curcumin product, really concentrated. It's also microencapsulated, so if you open up the capsule, like there's no smell, there's no taste, and it dissolves completely in water, which is the opposite of what standard turmeric powder does. So really bioavailable. That just made such a huge difference to him and his mobility, which meant he could stay active in older age. And yeah, it was really nice being able to support him holistically, and and now Lily. And I really couldn't recommend a holistic vet enough. I mean, a naturopathic vet is also amazing, but obviously there are things that only vets can do, like surgery or pharmaceutical injections, things like that. If you can have both. But there are just so many amazing tools in holistic medicine. Actually, interestingly, so much of what we know about like nutritional medicine comes from the racehorse industry, because there's so much money in it, and the agricultural and veterinary industry, but there's so much money in racehorsing, like the amount of money they'll spend on supplements for horses for performance and healing. So very grateful for that, although I don't support the horse racing industry. But I think just over time, more and more, I fully acknowledge this we're very privileged to be in a position to do this for our pets. And also there are some low-hanging fruit and really like effective things we can do holistically to help our animals be healthier and live better lives.
Yeah, they're so special, aren't they? And I like human medicine, the more prevention you can do, the less it ends up costing you usually over the long run.
Yes.
I mean, I still would say like we spend a fair bit on Chino. And also, he still has been to the vet a couple of times because when he was a puppy, he licked a cane toad that's poisonous, ate a blue bottle. He's had some instances where he's done some questionable things, but he is part golden retriever, so the retriever part
comes with the territory.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just they're like your family.
Yeah,
so
they're my fur children for sure.
Yeah. Well, we hope you found that helpful, useful, insightful, and if you have any follow-up questions, let us know, because we could also consider getting a holistic vet on the podcast if it was something that people were super interested in and you wanted more reliable sources of in terms of a professional. But otherwise, hopefully that's given you a few hints of places you could start.
Sending lots of love to your fur children. Bye.